My name is Jeff Zakim. I'm the Director of New Media for EMI Jazz and Classics. And like other label groups here within EMI, there's Capitol Records, there's Virgin Records. EMI Jazz and Classics encompasses several record labels. Blue Note Records, jazz label, that's the Blue Note Records website. Classic Jazz, the finest since 1939. We also have classical music with Angel Records. The interesting thing, and sometimes the difficult thing about Angel Records, is that it's home to Angel Records, EMI Classics from the UK, and Virgin Classics from France. So we have a wealth of classical music coming from all over the world. And like Blue Note, EMI Classics and Angel Records are very, very established brands in their genre. So you're dealing with, again, a wealth of catalog. And the newest label is actually a reinvention of a label that existed in the 80s and 90s, Manhattan Records. And it's great because we are here in Manhattan. And Manhattan Records is home to pop, adult pop, a little bit more mainstream type music. Artists from Manhattan Records, including Richard Marx, is someone who was on the original Manhattan Records. And today we have new, young, developing artists, Low Millions, Raoul Midon, artists that hopefully you will be hearing a lot of really soon. What I do here as the Director of New Media is run all of our internet operations. So that's everything from record label websites, this being the Blue Note Records website, where you can see pop-ups about the new Thelonious Monk and John Coltrane record, or you can see news on all kinds of coming events, or you can see new releases by all of our artists, whether they're upcoming releases, already out, or classic reissues. And a lot of that is actually data that has to be entered either through an automated system, which I've developed, or through a manual process. If something is brand new and happening really quick, and we want our 40,000 unique subscribers and visitors that come on a regular basis to see something, we'll plaster it up right here on the home page of the website. And the same holds true for the Angel Records website and the Manhattan Records website. In addition to managing our websites, I work with all of our artists for their internet campaigns. And that's where it gets interesting, because that's when you're dealing with the publicity department, the marketing department, the radio department, the sales department, basically everyone all over this floor and all over this building, because as I'm sure you guys know as students, you're of the generation where it's, clearly that the internet is part of everything, whether it's reading the news, finding your entertainment, listening to radio, purchasing anything, purchasing music, books, subscriptions, toys, gifts, food. You can buy your groceries online. So that's kind of where everything ties in, because you have to have a marketing plan that talks about going out to the street and doing consumer marketing at record stores, but you also have to have a marketing plan that includes online destinations and music stores. And, this should be familiar to everybody, the iTunes Music Store. One of the things that I'm involved with here is making sure our records are placed, working with the folks at iTunes to do promotions, doing really interesting things to make sure that our music is selling in this digital fashion. And I'm showing off because right there is a really good example of our music being placed well, our new Wynton Marsalis record and a recently released Joe Lovano record. And what's exciting about that is that he's placed right next to Miles Davis, who he played with. So iTunes is a really good example and something very relevant today of where internet media, digital media is converging with digital sales. It used to just be working with internet partners, whether it would be the early days, CD Now, N2K, a lot of sites that no longer exist, and it was really about promotion. It's shifted a little bit to now it's about sales, and you have an opportunity to sell here. Some of our new records are selling really well online, where we're talking about between 8 and 12% of overall sales are digital sales. And these are legal, sanctioned, high-quality digital sales, not the type of sale that might be thought of as a transfer through peer-to-peer networks. I won't get into the discussion or argument whether peer-to-peer is good or bad for the record industry. I don't have to because it's illegal. That's been made pretty clear. You can ask the Supreme Court that. That being said, I'm sure that there's plenty of folks out there that are familiar with peer-to-peer technology and the destinations and applications that provide for peer-to-peer. And yeah, it's a great way to get music. There's no question about it. There's a lot of great music to be had out there. There's a lot of great discovery. Hopefully, we will turn the tide, and everyone that's using peer-to-peer applications will be using legal and sanctioned peer-to-peer applications. And it'll really have a massive revolution to the music industry, because then you get to a point where you're dealing with stores like the iTunes Music Store, or maybe it's Yahoo Music Unlimited, where you're dealing with a subscription, which is really, really cheap, $5 a month to fill up your computer with music. And it will bring in the other community aspects that the P2P networks do, sharing, recommendations, finding out what a friend likes in music. Because really that's how you're all finding out about music today. It's through trusted people, friends, people you like. I really like John down the block. He listens to punk and I've never been into it, and now I can swap with him and get a lot of that music. So that's kind of this overall larger picture: digital sales, internet media. One of the things that I think is important that I'd like to talk to you about is how this little world interacts with everyone else. It's interesting because there's a lot of crossover, and it wasn't that way about 5-6 years ago or so. It's really boomed, for example, with sites like Live 365 and the Real One Pass and MSN Radio, and VH1 and MTV.com have radio players. AOL has a really great radio player. All of these things are free. So that's one aspect. We're here in the record industry working in new media, in digital entertainment. You're working with one of the more traditional groups, radio promotion, because now the internet groups are bringing radio play to the consumer, to the table, and it becomes a whole new data structure. Let's talk about all the radio play we're getting from regular radio stations, from satellite radio stations, and of course from internet radio stations. Blue Note Records has our own radio station right here called Blue Note Radio, and you could stream as much jazz as you want, free. Another area is publicity. Almost all of these websites offer news, press releases, tour dates, artist biographies, features, reviews, news stories. So that brings to the table working with the publicity, press, and corporate communications office. Because all of these destinations provide a really, really quick means of disseminating information on your artists, your new releases, your news, to mass consumers. That was something that was basically handled by print, television, and other forms of media that weren't necessarily online. So a good example would be working with the publicity department to get a feature or a review in Jazz's magazine or RollingStone.com or People, and have that ported over to the online side. To get a feature on an artist in RollingStone.com and in Rolling Stone the magazine is really that kind of connectivity that you want to have interdepartment, new media, publicity. So right there is just two examples, by the way, that media over the years has changed to bring an online presence to the table, where a department like this still does have to work with all these other parts. Sales. It's not just selling music, selling artists, selling records in record stores. It's selling $9.99 albums or 99-cent songs right here on iTunes. And again, it's another situation where how do we talk about getting the most reach for all of our records right out here in the iTunes Music Store, so we're selling all of our records. So my head of sales has to deal with what is he doing with the Tower Records physical location chains and the Virgin Records chains and the Trans Worlds and all of the record stores that you're familiar with, the chains and the small mom and pops, the great record store down the corner, which I still do hope you visit and you spend time there, because that's really where you get a lot of the feel for what's going on by talking to someone who knows music and wants to talk about it with you. But here also, digital sales. This is the newest mechanism of selling music. You probably all have iPods. I've seen the white earbuds. So again, another example where new media has to work with these other departments to basically make the machine all work and connect everything up. Publicity, radio, and sales. So those are some of the areas that I'm involved with that include other traditional, if you will, departments of a record company. It's been, an interesting learning curve over the past several years to talk about this being new, and that's probably not the case anymore. New media and internet marketing and digital sales should be and is considered part of the traditional means of selling records now. It's been several years now, and we've talked about, and I say we, people in digital and internet marketing and coming from .com backgrounds have talked about when this thing kicks in and when there's that great consumer awareness. Well, it's here. It's happening now. You're part of that revolution, actually. The younger generation, students, kids who are getting into music and getting into technology right now are really driving it. And to help drive that, I wanted to talk about some of my experience as to how I came to this. Because one, I think it was a really great route and a lot of fun, and there's oftentimes I wish I can go back and do it again because I had a great time working in my beginnings in music. The beginnings of the music industry don't offer a lot of financial reward as a college student just trying to get started out. There's probably better jobs on college campuses in and around college towns, like retail or bartending or the food industries, which I know are very common for college students to do, and that's great, and it makes a lot of money. I knew I wanted to be in music. I knew I wanted to be around CDs. I knew I wanted to be around bands and touring, and I thought the best way to do that, to get involved, would be work at a record store. So I got a really low-paying job at the local record store when I was going in college, and it took 6 months, and I was a full-time student, a junior, and I was made management. And it was sheerly based on passion, getting to know the distribution representatives, getting to know the label representatives that came into stores, sending posters, sending in-store play material, and really getting a vibe of how you sell records. And whether it was through spreadsheets to order products to bring into the store or talking to a consumer, and when they would come in on a regular basis say, I remember you told me you like R&B, here's this new record by an act that I think you might like. I would really recommend that. People think it's, not cool and it might be lame. Oh, I don't want to work in a record store, but you know what? That's where you're hitting the ground running. Label representatives come into major record stores. Distribution lists come into major record stores. You will learn the process of how do records get out because you will first see them come in and then you put them out. And if it's a huge selling record, a good example would be Norah Jones's second record, Feels Like Home, which sold 1 million copies the first week. I stood in record stores and watched clerks hand them out to consumers that were going to be looking for them. Quite an amazing thing. And I talked to some of these guys because I was part of the machine on the record label side that got that record there. And you know what? It was gratifying to see them do it, and I'm sure that they had a sense of ownership of the thing. And, it's a really great step. So for me, it was record retailing. And I think that's a really great, important step. And I started learning right away how this thing works, and got very much into the traditional record business in marketing and radio promotion because at this point in time, and I'll give a little insight into my age, this was 89, 90, and 91, postgraduate of college, and I was working in the music business already, doing marketing and promotion. And I like to tell the story of how I stumbled into the internet. I was servicing college radio stations with records, and I mean records, real LPs from a dance label. And I was getting reports back from radio stations of their airplay, and I found it quite confusing. I said, I was called the station back. I got your report. You played this single of ours, and it's great, and I saw you had a great reaction. You don't have a radio station. How are you playing it? Oh, it's this new thing. We have an online radio station. You can go to groups.com go dot, this whole long string. It wasn't as simple as AOL.com or Yahoo or MTV or Blue Note. And I think at that point it was AOL 5.0, and it took me several minutes to load in, and I was listening in really poor quality to this college's radio station, and they were playing our dance music, and I was stunned. I was blown away. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. Wow, online radio, internet, this laptop computer I had that was brand new, and then I was hooked, and left at that point the traditional record business and moved to the online side in working with websites and web developers. And at that point it was growing, and I started to work for a couple of internet companies and gained the experience, really turned the experience, actually, I would say. Turned the experience of working in the traditional record business that I had learned, marketing, promotion, working with artists, to how do I do this on the web? This is a new thing. I saw it coming. It was, on the horizon. And fortunately or unfortunately, I then kind of dovetailed right into the dot-com boom, and it was a wild ride, and I wouldn't be surprised if it comes back again. And, bringing me here to present, translating all of that back again to the traditional record business. But in that period of time, the traditional record business grew up a little bit and developed internet divisions, internet and new media marketing divisions. And I'm thrilled. I'm completely happy. I've been here at EMI working Blue Note, Angel in Manhattan for almost 5 years, and it's great. A tip of things on the horizon. You're already probably thinking this is old news because technology happens quickly and the youth is usually already onto it. But some of the things that you're probably already using and seeing and poking around online are things like RSS feeds. Instead of having to go to a website and just read news, whether it be the Blue Note Records website to see news about artists or events, or MTV.com to see news on your favorite artists, or going to your favorite band's website to see news. You can have news delivered right to your cell phone, right to your PDA, right to your desktop on your computer. RSS, commonly known as really simple syndication. The technology and the functionality behind it isn't as simple as the name RSS, but again, you probably already know that. So RSS feeds is one of the new things of technology that's out there. And how are we going to use it? We're going to use it to push news and information on our artists and on our records to the consumer. Through a simple sign-up, the same way that you sign up for an email list, sign up for an RSS feed and get news sent right to your mobile phone. Another technology that is new and out there, and again, it's probably not new to you. You're probably using this and spending time on it, are blogs. Web postings that are, in short, online personal diaries. I think that would be the best way to describe it. And it can be the person sitting in their room that's a hobbyist that wants to talk about their hobby and put something in a blog in the internet space, and just like that, before you know it, I found 10 other hobbyists, and one's in this part of the country, one's in this part of the world, and it's an amazing thing. And that could be the small level. It could also be a major band, a news event. All of the major media outlets are posting blogs, and it can go from the tiniest hobby to the most major media. And you can have blogs out there just communicating with people in a very open environment, and it's kind of an empowering tool because it allows people to have a voice to speak to without having to have a structure behind them to get their message out, whether it's a message about music, whether it's a message about news, whether it's a message about a business that they run, or a university newspaper would be a really good example. Someone should do that. So that's another new thing out there that is happening. Social networking is something that, again, is probably old news to you, and hopefully, I say hopefully, you're probably already involved in sites like MySpace and Friendster. And what's interesting about MySpace, and I'll just actually go there, I'll show it to you, I'll divert away from my Blue Note site. I mean, I'm sure lots of people visit MySpace, and it's really great for music because you can go there and just start listening to records by your favorite bands. A lot of stuff is going on here on MySpace where they've positioned themselves as a great music company, and you can go on here and create pages for bands and create pages for independent bands. If you got a rock band playing down in a basement in a college dorm, go to MySpace and build a page. Because you can post your music for free. It's legal, it's clean, it's good. You can get email lists. You can do tour dates. I don't know this band, but already I'm getting a sense of their music, and the guys' names are Tom and Andrew, and they're on Fat Records, which is a very cool independent label. But what MySpace is a social networking destination where you can post pictures and send out information and connect with other people that have like-minded interests that you do, whether it would be music or bicycling or basket weaving. It doesn't really matter. It can be really anything. And again, like blogs, social networking provides a really neat means of empowerment. It puts the internet really at your fingertips. One of my favorite things about the internet is I feel as if sometimes it gives me the biggest megaphone in the room. A couple of examples of that would be the amount of users that come to the Blue Note site. My job is to let people know about that. So right there I have a huge audience, and we can let people know quickly about new records, events, tours. The other thing is the simple, most beautiful element of the internet, and it's still so simple. It's there's never going to be the killer application, is email. The Blue Note and Angel and Manhattan Records websites have well over 100,000 subscribers to different lists, and without having to buy a radio advertisement or a TV advertisement or purchase something in a newspaper or get another form of media to disseminate the message, I feel like I have the largest megaphone, and I can shout out to those subscribers and to those fans, hey, this is what's new at Blue Note, this is what's new with Angel Records, and a couple of clicks away and a little bit of a process, and I send that message out. And pressing send sometimes, or that last scheduling button, is sometimes the most scary thing before you communicate with a couple of 100,000 people. And especially when they don't necessarily know it's me, because it's the message from the company or from the band or from the artist. But again, it gives me that sense of a really powerful megaphone, because here I am telling people about music I love, telling people about music that I want them to know about, because I'm passionate about it. And I am. It's not a job. It's passion. If you're planning on getting into this industry, want to, love it, love music, love talking about music, love entertainment. I think that's probably the most important thing. And then you'll be able to share that experience with passing it along to other people, whether you're seeking to be in press, telling people about music and your fans through the press or through the internet, like I like to do, and using the biggest megaphone to tell people about music that way. And that would be about it. I'll really close with that and wish all of you good luck. Get internships. Look at your local newspapers. Find information on music companies on the web. Use your career centers. EMI, for example, has a great outreach to major universities. And when you're in New York, come on down and visit us. Thanks. I was talking about some books that you should absolutely read. There's no question about it. Don Passman, All You Need to Know About the Music Industry. This is in its 5th edition. I first read it in its 3rd edition, and I purchased this 5th edition because it included whole new areas on law and technology. Don Passman is one of the foremost music and entertainment attorneys, period. That's about it. He's the best, and I'm not getting any kickback from this. I'm reading it for my own personal use and knowledge. But anyone thinking about being in the music industry or already in the music industry really must read this. Something a little bit different, and this is a fun read, it's a quick read, it's a good read, and it's actually by a friend of mine in this industry. His name is Brett Premack. Visit him at planetbrett, BRET.com.
how to make it in the new music biz. And this is for all you musicians out there that are thinking, oh, I got a band and I got a tape or a CD and I got to send it to a record company. Through this book, he'll tell you that you're wrong. You can post it online. You can send MP3s to a friend. You can build an internet site and get your music out there that way to people. It's a great book, and it gives really some interesting means of getting into the music industry and being a band or an artist and starting on the music industry. And another website, you'll have to jot this down, is newmusicbiz, B-I-Z.info. Newmusicbiz.info. That's Brett's site talking about this. I don't have it with me. I wish I did. It's the first book I read when I wanted to get started in the music business. And that was maybe my biggest benefit. I knew that this is what I wanted to do. I saw my first concert. I won't tell you who it was because it's lame. But it was a long time ago. And I found myself more interested in, I mean, the show was great. The band rocked and it was cool. And it was at the Meadowlands. And I had really bad seats. And my older sister took me. But I was more interested in how did the advertisement, how did we hear about it on the radio? Where did we know to buy tickets? How did the band and their equipment get there? Where were they going the next night? All of a sudden, I'm thinking about the behind-the-scenes stuff. That's how I got into it. The first book I read, Career Opportunities in the Music Industry and Other Related Fields. I'll never forget the title. It changed my life. The author, I believe, I'm pronouncing her name correctly, is Shelley Fields. But the title is Career Opportunities in the Music Industry and Other Related Fields. I believe it's on edition 8. I think my first edition was edition 1. This was 1989 that I had found this book. But basically the point of telling you about some of these resources, like how to make it in the new music biz and all you need to know about the music business, is you got to be serious about it. Go out there and read books. There's plenty of them. There's lots of websites that give information, and it's from both sides of it. How do you want to be in this music business if you are a band, if you are a singer-songwriter, if you are a performer? How do you break in? It's tough. It's not easy. Sending tapes, making music, and sending them to A&R reps, books like that will help you. Or if you want to be a music professional, you want to be in the marketing of music. You want to be an artist manager and work with artists. You want to be a director of new media and work in the internet. Lots of resources out there. These are two of the books. The Career Opportunities is another book. Hopefully, career placement and your music business classes can also help you with that. And go out there and find these books and read them and understand them and gain the knowledge you have. And then the doors will open. Thanks.